make sure that you love DJing, because it's not that easy.
You know, nothing is going to progress and evolve if nobody's ever going to play the new music or scared to play it. And that's one of the things that we've always done, and our popularity was based on dropping new music. You know, you got DJs out there, man, that's just scared to just play whatever every other DJ play.
Never compromise, never give up your true beliefs, because at the end of the day, once you give that up, you got nothing. Power, energy, confidence, these things really carry a lot of weight if you know how to cope with it, if you know how to deal with it, and keep a cool head and work that shit.
So apparently he's turned away people at the door because he had a limo driver at the airport and I wasn't there and he didn't know that I was driving. Now he's telling me that he don't want to pay me. Okay, cool. So I mean, I want to get there by 1.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So it won't be said that I didn't show up by playtime. Now, true enough, I got a bit of a reputation for not showing up in San Francisco. I mean, I don't know, man. It seems like the guy could have found somebody that knew how to contact me. He paid for a flight, and I got here. Okay, so what? I didn't take the flight. I'm here.
All right, who gets to hit him first? Who gets to hit him first?
Me?
What's up, man?
I'm here, right?
Yeah, of course.
On time, right? What's the problem?
No problem at all.
The word techno is not just associated with music. I mean, techno is the short, abbreviated term for technology, which is self-explanatory, but whereas it applies to music, you know, it's electronic music, basically. It's music that has been created totally and wholly from electronic sources. I didn't really intend to have a label. The only reason why I did it is because I submitted my music to like every record company that you can imagine and got turned down by all of them, you know. So I said, and I believed in this music so much that I decided to release it on my own. But because of the reluctance of the record companies to still, you know, to do anything, the label just got bigger and bigger with every release. Until like my third release was like Technicolor, man. The label was huge. The first record that I ever bought was Family Affair by Sly and the Family Stone. I mean, like P-Funk was one of my biggest influences, but Sly and the Family Stone influenced P-Funk. I've always felt it was more exciting to create something totally original than to copy a formula or emulate something that's there. Okay, but of course, there's more guaranteed chance of success copying formulas that have already been proven. When you do something that's not been proven, that's totally fresh and totally new, you're in untested territory. You know, you're going where no man has gone before, which could be a great success or it could be a great failure. I create music from my subconscious. So whatever I've listened to since I was a baby probably influences my sound on how I make music. I tend to like to blend my records as opposed to scratching and chopping records in and stuff like that. But I mean, certain records that have great intros that to get the impact and to get the crowd response, sometimes you just got to rip it in there. But more often than not, I prefer to blend for long periods. The only advice that I can give DJs, man, is to have guts, drop new tracks, and not worry about how the audience is going to receive it. I mean, if you like the track and if it's a hot track, drop it, man. You know, because, you know, nothing is going to progress and evolve if nobody's ever going to play the new music or scared to play it. And that's one of the things that we've always done, and our popularity was based on dropping new music. You know, you got DJs out there, man, that's just scared to just play what every other DJ plays. My best advice is don't be scared to bring the funk, man.
When I was a kid, I was probably listening to the same, can I say bullshit? To the same bullshit everyone else was listening, sort of in the time period between being 1 and 9. And then actually one lucky afternoon I heard the first Smith song. And I sort of, even with 9 years old, I felt that this is something rather different. And this is when I got interested to be very curious about music. We didn't have any record stores which were not owned by the East German government, so the only thing you could buy were East German censored music. We had like one very good radio station in Berlin back then, and they played a lot of, let's say, early house music, you know, and stuff we call house music and techno now. And I was really getting into that, and when the wall went down, I went to all the clubs I heard of and bands. I was very lucky. The way how it started for me is, as an example, back in the old days in Berlin, it was very limited to sort of Detroit techno, and I knew there was so much other music around there as well, so I just made tapes for myself and friends so we could listen to something in the car, and they actually passed it on to a promoter, and this promoter said, hey, that's something very special, something different, don't you want to play here? And it was Tresor in Berlin, and from then on it kind of like, you know, started developing in that way, and especially because I was playing completely different music which was normally played in Germany. So I developed my own thing, and I developed my own kind of crowd and my own business. My mixing style is with a combination of all the things. I'm trying to actually do what's good for the track, for the atmosphere, and for the set. You know, and you know, if it's a long blend, as an example, then because it's of the benefit of the track. If it's kind of like a shortcut or just really short mixes, then I'm just taking the essential parts of the track to play out. I have a very distinctive style of what I'm playing, and I have a very clear idea about what I like to play. But you know, you can be a bit housey, you can be a bit more techno-y, and it can be a bit more trancey. You can go in like kind of tendency-wise. It's like life, you know, you're not every day happy and you're not every day sad. It's like an up and down all the time and back and forth all the time. And this is what I try to bring across in music as well. You hear me playing big time techno as well as big time trancey things, or what people call breakbeats or house. You know, I try to pick the records which I enjoy most and try to bring this across to people. The way I see DJing is actually you cannot plan anything. You have to have a very clear idea about your own sound, about what you like to bring across to the crowd, and at the same time you have to be able to interact with them. You have to be able to see where the crowd goes, where the energy level is, and then basically adjust the music to it, and then try to sort of change the atmosphere around into 100% Paul van Dyk. I get, can you see this? About this many records every week. So it's kind of tricky to listen to them full on all the time. So what I'm doing, I kind of skip through and see which ones are sort of, you know, essential for what I like to have. And then I make basically 3 piles. One is just, you know, totally off what I like. Then one is, okay, listen to it again. And the other one is absolute massive, straight into the box. You only can come across 100% if you actually stand behind what you're doing, and this is the most important thing about DJing for me. Absolutely sort of get your head around what you actually want to play, you know, and really sort of get your head around your own style of music, what do you really enjoy, because this is the only thing you can bring across 100% to people. And this is the only thing, you know, there's so many people trying to be DJs and trying to do this and do that. So you have to be special to actually get through and get a notice. And to be special, you have to be 100% behind what you're doing.
You start off kind of easygoing, and it evolves into something else, start morphing and changes, and then beats are dropping, EQ is flying, and man, you know, might trick it out and do like double beats. So, you know, you got rhythms flying, it's polyrhythmic, and things that are jumping off, you know, occasional like extra bass just so you get whomped right in the chest and you're like, shit! You know, it's a matter of just, you know, being comfortable enough up there in the hot seat to not really be worried about the fact that you're up there in the hot seat and just get down. I gotta get down. I'm a hired gun. You know, people call me and pay me money to come to their places and like turn up the party. So I have to like try to do that, you know, using all my little arsenal of secret weapons. You gotta know your records when you play them, because otherwise, you, like, what are you doing? Like, well, you won't be fooling anyone. And I mean, you just sound like a hack. You're like just getting up there, just hacking away. Like, that's bad. You know, it's not hot. Kids don't want that. Not for $10, not for $20. You know, you can't pull that shit off in this day and age. So you gotta know your records. And like, that means everything from like, you know, where the breaks come in, if like, you know, there's a 2-count drop where then it comes back on the second beat or the third beat instead of on the first. I mean, you gotta know if at this point, you know, in your mixing, if this changes key, and will it still like be a relative key to the one you were in before? Like all these little things that, you know, people don't necessarily know. They think that you're just putting on a record and then you're putting on another record and then you're putting on another record, and you do that for a number of times until you go pick up your large check and leave. And some people do that. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen some kids get paid outrageous money for some incredible bullshit. Like the record itself tells you kind of how it wants to be played. Well, it tells me how it wants to be played. Like, you know, if I drop the bass here or drop the treble in the mid here, just give the sub right here, or, you know, and you get to do that a lot more with the long mixes, which are definitely, you know, my preferred type of mix. Is the longer mix. Just because short mixes are cool, but it's not me. That was one record, and then there's another record, and then now we got some new stuff happening. And I mean, I do get people that are like, man, what was that record you just played? And I'm like, these two? I'm like, you know, what's that playing? And I like flick the fader back and forth. I'm like, this, that, and maybe a little of this. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I consider myself a part of Chicago. I'm as Chicago as anybody from Chicago you'll ever meet. I think a lot of it is like you're raised in a place where it's like, it's a big city, but for the most part it still has kind of like Midwest small town values, really cold winters. Man, it's a put up or shut up kind of town, and most people tend to put up. The only advice I really can offer is like, you really have to just go for it. You know, I want dubbing tapes, like handing them out, like passing out flyers, throwing your own parties, like, you know, working in record stores. I mean, I've done so much with regards to this that it's incredible. Like working retail, like being a singer, being a producer, being an engineer, like throwing my own parties, doing promotions, doing security, like everything. Just because I know that somewhere in there, somehow, some way, that something is going to turn up. Like somewhere in this, I'm going to get a break. And you have to be able to be there. You can't just call in your ticket. You gotta keep working. And even when you get to a certain place, you gotta keep working. You work harder. You know, that's the other thing. Like, don't be afraid to work, because it's gonna take a lot of it. You're gonna need to work a lot, just because no one's gonna give you anything. So, in so many ways, you just kind of gotta take it.
I guess the best description for the kind of music that I'm responsible for or involved with would be electronic, hybrid, high-tech, techno music. Now there's a difference when I say that. There's a big difference in the style of techno music or electronic music that people are listening to today. And the biggest difference is that the origins of the music for which Detroit techno stands for is more of a black, urban, futuristic style that we had in mind that maybe never really came to be realized by the general public, but it was really what we were all about. The rest of the world knows techno music as some sort of trendy, So we've tried our best to stand behind what we believe in and to stay as true and as core as possible to the art form. I think that most Detroit artists, including myself, are considered the electronic musician's musician. And I think that's because we have stayed so close to core for so long that we are probably the only ones on the planet that still believe that there is some sort of electronic revolution going on. Maybe we're lost in the twilight zone, you know, and maybe at the same time we're holding on to the twilight zone, you know. Juan Atkins was really important. I mean, without Juan, I think I wouldn't be here today. The first records Juan ever showed me how to mix together, honestly, I mean, seriously, was David Bowie, Fashion, and a record by a guy named Edwin Birdsong, Rapper Dapper Snapper on Soul Soul Records. And these two records were the first two records that he ever really tried to show me how to do this thing. And he was able to put a couple records together. You know, he wasn't great, but I wasn't able to put two records together. We were 18 years old. This is 20 years ago, okay? The first 30 minutes are everything. That's the power. That's when you set the stage for the next 3 or 4 hours. So you can take people to wherever you want them to go. If you don't control them in the first 30 minutes, you lose them. You have to work an hour to get them back, which means you spend a lot of time playing a lot of choice tracks that maybe you plan on using later in your set. I consider myself like a rodeo rider. I can ride the bull for a short time and let go, make my point, or I can ride that motherfucker forever and, you know, try to like beat him down. When it comes to my mixing style, it all depends on what I see and what I feel in the audience. I can play smooth and do nice mixes for 2 or 3 hours or 1 hour or 30 minutes, or either I can just blow you apart in seconds. You know, I can just give it to you. And I can just like fuck you right on the dance floor. And I love to fuck people on the dance floor. I love it. It's fantastic. But this is something that you can only do when you feel the energy coming back from the people. Never compromise, never give up your true beliefs, because at the end of the day, once you give that up, you got nothing. To stand the test of time, you must stand the test of mind. You know, you must be strong and true to yourself before you can be strong and true to anybody else. And I know this because I stood alone with Juan Atkins and Kevin Saunderson. And we stood at the foothold of Horizon, man, when there was nobody, when nobody was there. Nobody, not a person, not anybody. And we had to stand there by ourselves and break some walls and do it. And we had everybody against us, laughing at us, humiliating us, just not believing in us. So I know what I am, and I know that if anybody wants to be like that, then they have to stand true and be prepared.
The most important thing for me is actually I follow my balls down there, and they control completely my brain. So I never think too much about what I'm doing. I just do it, and hopefully it fits. If not, well, I fail, but everybody's, you know, human. But I don't fail tonight. It's gonna be good. I know that. I feel it. They say it to me, you know. I'm an entertainer. I'm somewhere between entertaining, not teaching, that's a little bit too much, but presenting the crowd something new, something, I don't know, something unexpected or so. And this is enough. I mean, I really watch the crowd. I'm here, they pay money to see me, so I try to make it as good for both sides as it's possible. I play for them, but I play my style as well. There are a lot of train spotters that are hunting for the record you don't know. So when they ask you, do you know the new Bedrock or anything like that, you have to have it, or at least you have to know it. Or you have to have a good trick that they think you know it, but you don't know it at all. You know what I mean? So it is, yeah, it's some sort of competition with everybody out there. Not really, but you have to be just, in that league I'm playing actually, or we are all playing actually, we need to be one step ahead. And we get paid for that really good, and we just have to be a little bit more informed than anybody else. I'm doing that stuff since such a long time, nearly 20 years now, that I don't care what's going out. Sure I care, but for my job I don't care what's going out there. I'm, yeah, pretty successful at the moment, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't change my style or anything like that. I just do, as I say, what my ball's saying to me. And they say play evil, play nasty, play funky, and I'm there. Normally I need to listen to my records at home. I know the system, I know how records sound over there. And it just needs to sound right over there. They are very successful, very big records that just doesn't sound good, so I don't play them. The sound is the most important thing for me. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and follow your way. Just believe in that thing that you're different as the others, and just live it. I do it as well. I'm 20 years doing that shit, and I mean, hey, now finally after 20 years I'm there where I am, which is pretty exciting, but I'm still, I think, pretty much down to earth. I know where I'm coming from. I know how hard it was. It is just about believing in something. It's even more difficult right now, because so many people want to be, you know, big, important DJs. It's really hard, but yeah, well, that's how life is. I mean, as I say, I'm DJing since 20 years, and I built up I was a little part of, you know, of a new culture that built itself up in the last 20 years, DJ culture. So here we go. I live it right now, where it can go, where it's going to be. I'm just living it right now. Ask me 2 years, I can tell you a couple of more stories. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great.
Peace and out.
In the beginning, it's kind of like you're warming up, and there's, you know, you're at level 1. And then all of a sudden, it's that one song where everyone goes, here we go, you know, it's that next level. And from then on, you've got them. You've got the focus, and everyone is basically paying attention, and I think that's important because, and you can tell when that happens, you know, in the beginning everyone's kind of like unsure, and then all of a sudden you gain their trust, and it's like that one song takes you to the next level, and from then on, it's carpet ride. I generally mix long mixes. I take my records and I key them out instead of like beat them out. I don't know, I couldn't tell you what BPM my records were, but I could tell you what key they're in. So that makes a long mix sound even better because they're not clashing keys. When I mix, I like to tell a story, and if I don't do that, I don't feel complete. I like to go on a journey. I like to bring it up, bring it down, and then that last song I like to play, I like it to absolutely make sense. Like, it just leaves people feeling like that is the last song, you know, you couldn't do one more song because that was perfect. That's the way I like to end my set. I think it's important to have fresh music along with, you know, some music that people are familiar with. But having the, you know, record before someone else comes out, it's fresh and new, it's exciting, it creates a buzz, and, you know, a lot of people like that, and I like that. When you're a big role model and people are really focused in on what you're playing, they're going to listen to the records you play, they're going to look at the title, and the record's going to be sought after. So like if John Digweed or Sasha plays a record, everyone's writing them down, or if they put something on a mix CD, that's why they get sent the CDRs first, because they know if they're gonna play it, then it's gonna sell well. People look at a DJ and they